All right, we're going to work on some inequalities here. So there's a few things that are different, but for the most part, it's just like solving equations, all right? So let's start by reading this. Negative 2 times x plus 9 is less than negative 1. So we're going to start over here on the right, on the left side where the variable is, and we're going to get rid of that 9 on each side. So I'm going to bring down my negative 2x less than, and then I'm going to use my calculator because so many of you aren't using your calculators and you're making silly mistakes. So negative 1 minus 9 is negative 10. The next thing we're going to have to do is get rid of this negative 2, but when you multiply or divide by a negative number that's attached to a variable, that means your sign, your inequality, is going to change. So I flip that inequality because I divided by a negative number. Okay, negative 10, let me go ahead and use my calculator. Negative 10 divided by negative 2 is 5. And then we have to graph this. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a line. I'm going to put a 0 here, and I'm going to put a 5 right here. This says x is greater than 5. Since it's not equal to, it's an open circle, and then the line will go up. It'll follow the arrow right here. It goes in the exact same direction. So that means your solutions are any number bigger than 5. Does not include 5, but bigger than 5. Okay, so let's go on to our next one. Here again, we're going to solve it just like we would any equation. We've got 2 times x plus 11 is less than or equal to negative 5. So I'm going to subtract that 11 on each side. I have 2x is less than or equal to, and again, use your calculator, negative 5 minus 11 is negative 16. This time I'm dividing by positive 2. When you divide by a positive number, you do not switch the signs or the inequality. You leave it exactly the way it was. Then I'm going to go over here. Negative 16 divided by 2 is negative 8, and it wants us to graph it. So again, number line. I'm going to put my 0 right here, and I'm going to put my negative 8 down here. So I know this is equal to, so that means I've got a closed circle at negative 8, and I'm going to go in the direction that my inequality is pointing. X is less than or equal to negative 8. Okay? So that's how that one worked. Let's go on to our third inequality here. This one is saying which are solutions to this inequality. So please be real careful when you do these because this really causes problems for a lot of people. 3 times x is greater than negative 9. I'm dividing by a positive 3. That means my inequality does not flip. I'm going to use my calculator. Negative 9 divided by 3 is a negative 3. So I'm going to go ahead and graph that because sometimes it makes picking your answers a lot easier. There's a 0, there's a negative 3, and x is greater than negative 3. So it's an open circle, and it's everything going toward the direction that the inequality points up here, okay? So, is negative 3 a solution? It is not, because that is not equal to negative 3. Bigger than, it's everything to the right of negative 3. Is 0 a solution? It absolutely is. It's right there. Is negative 2 a solution? It absolutely is. Is negative 5 a solution? It is not. It is not. Okay, that's smaller than negative 3. And how about 4? Is 4 a solution? It is. So a lot of times, if you're doing these, the best way to not mess up is to graph them. Also, look for the word solutions because oftentimes people will say, x is greater than negative 3. Negative 3 is my solution. But that is not true. So you got to be real careful with those. All right. So that's our quick lesson on inequalities. Let's see what comes next.